Okay, I'd like to call to order the Board of Selectmen meeting of December 11th, 2013. The first item on the agenda is an executive session pursuant to Section 1-200(6) of the Connecticut General Statutes. Is there a motion to move to executive session?
So moved.
Thank you. A second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you. So we would like to now clear the room, please, and turn off the cameras.
Here. I'm sorry, who did you want into?
Which will be described in a motion. I would now ask for a motion to authorize me as first selectman to sign the proposed amended agreement in accordance with the document that was reviewed in executive session, subject to final review by town council and approval by the Board of Finance of the document that we discussed and reviewed in executive session without any substantive change.
So moved. Second.
Is there any discussion? We can't really have any discussion except with language of the motion. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you very much. And thank you everyone for waiting.
Did you say there were no votes taken?
I did say that. I said there were no votes taken. I'm saying it again.
Good.
Okay. Dr. Stella, number 3 on our agenda.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to share some information. Good evening, everyone. My presentation will be short because we have a wonderful book fair going on at Beecher Road School. We like to say that we bathe our children in the sea of literacy. And it's a family night. There are lots of families there. If you finish your meeting earlier than expected, feel free to join us. And if not, you could go online to Scholastic. The fair will run until December 24th. What I would like to, I have passed out to you the latest copy of the superintendent's parent update, so that'll give you some information, a summary of some of the things. What I'd like to highlight today is there's cause for celebration. There was an embargo that was lifted by the Department of Education last week on the recently issued Connecticut District Performance Report, school report. It's the new accountability system. And it takes into consideration, there's a formula to it. It's a rating of schools, that's what it comes down to. And there's a formula of overall school index, target attainment, percentage of children achieving advanced on CMT, subgroup performance, and four-year cohort performance, a whole variety of things. There are 5 basic categories, excelling being the highest category, and number 5 is the turnaround school. So Beecher Road School was identified as an excelling school, which we're not surprised about, but it's always nice to get that because you have to look at subgroups too. And there were indicators of success with all those variables put into the blender there. The overall math performance was 95%, and reading was 91%, writing 94%, and the overall science was 98%. So we're very, very pleased with that. And if you look at we are. It's one indicator because we do a lot of things at Beecher Road School that aren't tested. And that's the creativity, the innovation, critical thinking, and things of that sort. But if you look at the standardized kinds of reports on the school, and the 2 that we have are the CMT, last year was the last one, and now the SPI, these are audited kinds of things. We were at the highest levels of performance. So that's what I'd like to share with you. I will be presenting the general budget for 2014-15 to the Board of Education on Monday night. We put a lot of time and thought into it because, again, we stick to our mantra. We have to have higher quality education, and in doing that, we have to look at what kind of world are the children going into and how can we prepare them best. And at the same time, we know we have to watch the dollars, that these are tough economic times, and we have tried to do both. and I'll be presenting to the board and then sharing with you at a later time. If you have any questions of me, I'll be happy to answer them. Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate your help. Good.
Enjoy the book fair.
Okay, we're now at item number 4, Crestview Pond. George, would you like to make the presentation?
Thank you.
I would just introduce the subject by saying soon after the election, I guess this summer, George came to talk to me about this issue, which has been pending for some time. And there seems to be quite a bit of background and information, and I thought it was best if the board became familiar with the issue and what the different factors are and what's been going on since, as I said, there's been a long history, and I think we all need to be brought up to speed. So thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to talk.
Unfortunately, I forgot my glasses, but let me borrow yours. All right. Well, the Crestview ditches have evolved from the Paulson skating rink, which has been for I don't know how many years off Seymour Road. They were constructed when the rink became a pond as Black Brook and Trout Brook passed through, and still does. Over the years, more development has taken place in the area. I'd like to read this because I've got a lot of little details here, so I don't want to miss anything. And the water levels have increased to where they are today. Crestview first began in the mid-'60s with a road and drainage system that emptied into the expanded ditches. Silting became a problem and both ditches were cleaned in 1969. I believe the ditches were put in sometime. There used to be some excavation there for a quarry, and I think the ditches were put in then. I'm not sure for drainage, but I'm not sure when the ditches first went in. And I know it was done in '69 because I purchased the first home on that track. Now, I've been in contact with a Roman, and it's hard to pronounce his last name, but Moronsky, I believe is how you say it. And he and I have walked the site, and he's made a report that we are currently receiving water from approximately 659 acres in that immediate area. And if the water company property, which you hear rumors all the time that they're going to unload that because they don't really use it anymore, now they buy water from the New Haven Water Authority, that would increase that by several hundred acres. Now, previous public work directors Pete Kozak and Joe Carlson were involved in cleaning the ditches over the years. And as far as I can figure, they've been cleaned 4 times. The materials from the ditches were never ever hauled away, and that was a contention before. And it has always been placed on the banks, and it can still be placed on the banks. I have that from Roman, who's with the Southwest Conservation District, of which the town belongs. And I also have a friend of mine who is with the Corps of Engineers, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. The ditches were last cleaned from end to end, in other words, from the street to where the pond is, in 1991. They were partially cleaned when the plunge areas were constructed in 2004. When a serious washout on Nettleton Drive, when Nettleton Drive washed out, and I'm not sure the year of that, but the town did come in and remove silt from the beginning of the ditches that had somehow gotten downstream to the pond. And I'm not sure of that date. We were never informed of the Elders Leak retention basin failing for a second time. It first failed almost immediately after construction. Fortunately, the builders were still there, and they were responsible for the reconstruction. I'm not involved in that. I was, I believe, on the Board of Finance at that time, so I wasn't involved, and I didn't even realize it until it came before us. And the second time, I guess I'm told that the Boy Scouts or some group with 5-gallon cans removed all the silt after it collapsed the second time. And I'm not sure, but I was told that the town rebuilt that. I don't know if that's true or not.
It was all reconstructed.
Yeah, it's been all rebuilt. All right. Most of the silt from those two collapses ended up in the Meadow Crest ditch, which is at the corner of Meadow Crest and Crestview Drive, and the pond. The town received approximately $600 to $700 in taxes from the Wallace tract before it was developed. When it became the Elderslie tract, they now take in the range of $200,000 to $250,000 a year in taxes, based on the homes that are there. Now we're looking at the Arnold Peck development, and the driveways, roads, roofs, decks, or any other hard surface will now increase the water flow to Crestview because the Arnold Peck retention basin is to release water that will come down and eventually end up in the pond. We should not have to, it's been recommended that we remove the silt at our expense. We should not have to when the town, the tax revenue is such that over a 10-year period, they should be able to accumulate enough money to clean those ditches every 10 years. Now the Arnold Peck site's coming along, and the tax will be far more than what the Hates paid when they owned that property, because it was classified as open space. Now with residential, I'm not sure what it'll be, but I'm not even sure how many homes that are going to go on this Peck property, but it's probably going to be, I don't know, 25, 30, I have no idea. I think the town should set aside or establish a fund for cleaning ditches for situations like what we have in town. I know we went through several years ago sending letters out to certain people that had ditches that they were no longer going to clean those ditches, and I'm not sure how that really ended up, but I remember the letters going out. We did not receive one, so I'm not sure. I don't think we did. Did we, Mike, ever receive? No, so we did not receive a letter. Again, the town enjoys the tax revenues, and we have to suffer, and I don't think it's fair. All right, the town has repaired and curbed Evergreen Drive to Warren's credit, and that has blocked off the mud that has flown down for years down the hill, sometimes blocked Crestview Drive and into the ditch. And now I'm very much concerned that since our property does not but the Peck project, we were never notified, or we would have been up there. So the Peck project has gotten started. And I think the same will happen with the water company property. I don't think any of the Crestview properties border the water company, although I'm not really sure. The town owns a piece of property there. They bought lot 16 many years ago because they were concerned about the effluent from the water in the settling ponds getting into that wet area there. So the town purchased that, and I'm not sure exactly. I don't think we did anything with it at that time. Now we have two reports. I have the Southwest. I have copies here of the report from Criscola, and I have copies from the Southwest Council. I also have pictures, if you'd like to see the pictures of what we're facing. We need to get this. We need to get something done. We need to get a ruling, one way or the other. But the silt is coming down. The pond is filling in. Roman, in his report, acknowledges that something really should be done. That there's going to be trouble here. I have a letter from Mrs. Robinson, who's not able to attend, but she's very much concerned because her property is seriously being impacted right now. And her daughter has said that they're going to have to do something if something's not done, because she's had more water in her basement since this has all started. And when we walked around it, Roman and I, the yard was flooded, and we really haven't had a lot of rain. So, but I have a letter from her which I can give, and we'll enter into the record. I don't know where we go, but I would like to see if we can't get these ditches cleaned out and maintained. It's not something that's got to be done every year. I think if we take the retention basin that was put in back in 2004, they put rocks in the bottom, and then when I spoke with Warren about getting it, he said we can't pump it out because there's rocks in the bottom. Well, you know, I didn't put the rocks in, they put the rocks in, they should have known that, and so I'd like to get that cleaned out, because right now the silt is, it's overflowing right now, and I'd like to get that cleaned out. And then I'd like to look at the plunge basins. I don't know if the engineer's here. Bob Criscola I thought was going to be here tonight. I'm not sure he is. I haven't seen him. So, but his report talked about you know, the plunge basins. And Roman said that the plunge basins should be made larger and should be made deeper. And at the end of each of the ditches, there should be a rather deep plunge hole, so that any silt that may get through will fall into those holes, and then it's easier just to clean that hole than it is to have to, you know, do the entire ditch.
I have a suggestion. Some of the things you referred to, I believe we have in the files, but some I don't think we have at town hall. So perhaps you can leave everything that you have with
Oh, I
you
will.
with Jerry, and we'll make sure that all of the
Right.
board members get to see that. Does anyone have questions now before reviewing it, John?
Just real quick.
Joe?
George, have you put together any detailed scope of work with associated costs? I mean, you're asking
Well,
us to do,
right.
rather than have us look at all the.
No,
mean,
I
it's
have,
one
I
report
believe,
and-
I believe Warren did. He
Yeah,
has
Warren's
some.
representing.
And the scope of the work, Southwest, they have given us what they feel should be done, and Bob Criscola gave us a report, and I have copies of that, and that was back in 2004, and most of that was done. I think the one mistake that was made is they put rocks in the bottom of the plunge, and so they couldn't clean them out because they had all that rock. So if they clean out the plunge basins, and Roman came up to enlarge them. He felt they should be a little bit bigger, and then that would help the problem. And the fact that a lot of the silt now is
And Ellerslie is straightened away, that's going to help. There'll be not a lot of silt coming down. I'm concerned about Arnold Peck. I understand that yesterday that with Arnold Peck, that the homeowner, whoever buys lots adjoining the retention basin on the Arnold Peck, they're going to be responsible for maintaining that retention basin. That's worse than the town maintaining the one at Ellerslie. Because, I mean, somebody's going to buy that lot, or maybe they'll never sell the lot. They may not sell those lots, because if they see that in the contract that they're responsible for maintaining it, I doubt they may not sell. And then what happens? What happens? We got all those houses up there, and we got a retention basin that's going to start dumping water, and who's going to maintain it? Is the town going to take it over? I'm not sure how something like that would get through without. I mean, I would think somebody would question that as to why are they permitted to make homeowners maintain it.
The Arnold Peck, I know where Crestview, I know Evergreen, I know Elderslie. Where's the Arnold Peck?
It's up on Peck Hill. It's the old it's the Haight tract. It's, I'm not sure how many
If you go
acres.
up Peck Hill, right?
On the left-hand side.
Okay.
They started work and then they stopped. They probably stopped for a good year, and I understand they're starting up again. But I'm not sure how many acres. I really don't know. I don't know anything. How many homes? Well, I'm not really sure. I have not. I haven't seen anything on it, and I don't have any information. I know
they put 3 or 4 roads in there, dead-end roads.
Right, more like driving.
Driveways, so they say driveways, but I'm not sure how many houses.
Well, we can find
Right.
out. Yeah, are there any other questions for George?
George, just real quick, can you tell me what the Southwest report gives as an estimate for such work?
I think Warren
Warren's gonna give us that?
Yeah, Warren has that, he has that. I'm not sure what exactly they're gonna do, so I don't know.
Okay.
But
So will you be sure Jerry gets everything you
I
think?
will, absolutely.
We need to
Yeah,
see.
absolutely.
We'll distribute that. Great, any other questions? No? Okay. Great, thank you very much.
Thank
I'll
you.
also give Jerry her glasses back. Otherwise, you're gonna have to take the minutes, George.
No, that's not in my bailiwick.
Thank you very much. Warren, I guess we have a good segue to the information that you have.
George is absolutely right that there is absolutely a long history associated with the pond. Just for some of the clarification purposes of what George has been referring to, I don't want to deviate back and forth too much, but Mr. Criscola did do a remedial design for the pathway of the water at the crossing from Meadowcrest and Crestview out to the pond. The stones or rocks that George is referring to were not put there to control silt. They were to minimize scour and to retain the end walls where the outfalls are on the pipes that meet those ditches. What was happening is the water was actually coming down with such velocity that it was scouring and undermining the end walls. So one of the things that the rocks do is they stop that undermining, but it also slows the water down so that the scour in the ditch becomes lessened, because any water that comes down in storm events, it scours the bottom of the water courses, and it scours the side walls of any of the arteries, the brooks and the streams that contribute. Like George said, there's 627, 640 acres that are currently allowing water to migrate through this pond area. The Peck subdivision went through inland wetland, and by design, the engineers are retaining that water in the retention basins that the association up there will have to maintain. But the water is retained on that property to release so it doesn't impact the people both across the street and down into the Crestview area. There was a breach of the Elderslie Pond. It was monitored and observed the remedial effort. Richard Couch was hired to come up with a redesign, and that was monitored to reconstruct it so that problem wouldn't reoccur. The pails that George was talked about, the trenches were walked, and the spoils were picked out by hand because you couldn't bring machinery in to do the task. So that was happening. One of the things that Mr. Criscola and Mr. Merzansky from the Soil Conservation did mention that all of this process is natural. It's an occurrence to all waterways. Back, I believe it was in 2003, we had him up there to look at this entire area, and there were soil samples looked at, and it was determined at that time that it was a natural process. We did spend money up there to dredge those ditches, and back in like the 80s, a firm was hired before there was any wetland restrictions to dig those spoils out, and they were dispersed on the adjoining properties. Today there's a little more stringent standard for doing that, and I did obtain quotes based on Mr. Criscolo's design and the request of the previous board members and Mr. Sheehy to look at this, to find out if the town wanted to have any interest in doing this. One of the things that is by definition, from the road out to the pond, they are drainage right-of-ways. And with those drainage right-of-ways, there was no maintenance agreements or responsibilities that were passed on to the town. Now, that doesn't mean that the town can't bear some responsibility. We're not generating the silts, it's a natural occurrence. But we can undertake some of this work if we choose to do so, as we have done in the past. We can't clean the silts that embed themselves in the rock. In order to properly do that, you have to take all of the rock out and replace that. Some of the quotes that we've received factor some of that in as part of the remedial effort on the one ditch that we're focusing on. But we spent close to $17,000 up there to do this back in 2006. We spent over the years a lot of money in engineering costs to monitor this, and some of it is, let's say, repetitive. Mr. Criscola did kind of what soil conservation did. He took the geographic topo maps and took the whole area and monitored what was really, some of it comes from Seymour, some of it comes up from Old Quarry Road, and it all migrates down into here. Any of the new subdivisions that are built, they're supposed to have a zero increase in the surge of water. In other words, the water does accumulate, but it's retained for a slow release, so when the waters recede, that water will go where it belongs, but at a rate where it's not during the storm. One of the things that was evaluated both by town council, previous town council, and the Board of Selectmen in the past, was that, as I stated, we could do something if we wished. Now, based on Mr. Criscola's design, I got 2 preliminary estimates to do what's in Mr. Criscola's design, and it ranged in cost anywhere from roughly $11,000 to $22,000 to do the work. There was a wide gap in the variations because one contractor was going to, let's say, shortfall the parameters that Mr. Criscola set, and if you're going to compromise it, then you're run of risk of increasing the silts that migrate downstream.
So the $22,000 estimate is to carry out what Mr. Criscola had in his plan.
And
So
keep
that's
in mind
good.
that this information was 8-9 months ago, so the prices might have to be updated. But that was just we didn't go to bid for this, we wanted to get a baseline for what the cost to do the work was going to be. I have the plan here, it's available in my office to outline what he is, and the board members are welcome to, I'll give Jerry a copy of it so that everyone can see what's proposed. One of the things associated with it, though, is basically the pond is silted in somewhat over the years. There's no denying that. The proposal basically is going to create a sump area between what's already silted in the pond and the closest outfall. So it's a temporary measure, and as George already indicated, that it's going to require repetitive maintenance, which means, let's use every 10 years, you're going to have to come in and do it again. So whether the town wants to bear any of that cost, it's up to the boards to make that decision. But I would like to exercise caution on doing that because we have a multitude of waterways in town where similar conditions exist. And if we set a precedence by doing them, not that we don't have an obligation, because when we have a waterways fund that is set up to do remedial work in waterways or bridges or replace culverts or whatever. So funding is established to do like the hardening, like we've previously done, not only there but in other areas. But we might be setting a precedence because there are many ponds and many waterways that I can just off the top of my head think of a handful of them. So whether we want to exercise that, I would caution you. There's also in adjoining towns, there's similar ponds. There's several things that we have. Some ponds by design are meant to retain the water, just as the one in the Arnold Peck subdivision. They're a little bit more, let's say, scaled up, but by design they're supposed to vegetate naturally and be self-maintaining. Obviously, the outfall grates might have to have periodic inspections and things, but they vegetate, and so they partially absorb the water that comes into them. They're not just a retention basin. There's some of them that have become, in locations in town, overgrown immensely. You couldn't bring a mower in there, and I don't think a person could walk in there without having a logging company come in and clear the vegetation from them. I guess they're functional, but the town has no responsibility associated with those. The other type is in the bordering towns where they exist, have the housing association maintain them. And there's a couple of those ponds right by the Macero property. There's actually two of them. And those seem to be maintained nicely by the community that's maintaining those. There's actually three of them if you go down to the healthcare center. And all that water discharges into our stormwater system. Some of the maintenance things that George refers to, it wasn't a letter that was sent out to all residents. It was part of our stormwater management policy that's required by the state. And by definition, basically, the homeowners of any blockage of vegetation and things like that that would restrict the flow of water or litter that enters them and things like that become the homeowner responsibility to remove that, not the town. I see often contractors in town, they're doing leaf cleanup, and they think because they're an open ditch, they blow all the leaves into the ditches. Well, you get a heavy rainstorm, the first thing those leaves do is congeal down to the closest pipe, and we have erosion problems or flooding problems associated with that. So that's a no-no, and when we find out that that goes on, we refrain from having those contractors do that. But I do have the quotes that you can see. They would have to be refreshed, and the plan. And then there's years of documentation that you could look at as well associated with this.
Questions for Warren at this point? Okay, thank you very much. We're going to do item number 5. Oh, I'm
Am I
sorry.
up next for the?
You are,
next-
yes. Let's do number 5 quickly.
Okay.
And then I think that will be very quick. Tony, do you want to describe it?
The town went out to bid for a heavy-duty cabin chassis, and you should have those results in front of you. And we received 3 bids: the Freightliner, the Truck Center Inc., and Hein Brothers. And the request from the department is to award the bid to a Peterbilt, which is the bid from Truck Center. And it's similar to the bid we did last time we awarded this bid with similar results. And Warren, if you could explain their rationale for that?
Yeah, when we bought a Peterbilt truck, and the last truck that we purchased, and we actually have it on the road for this season, and it's performing very well as anticipated. They were not the low bid in that purchase, and the reasons were basically we have the same players in this bid process that we had before, or at least the same product that's being offered. We negated the International because of electrical problems that have historically been with other trucks that we've had in the fleet. And during the presentation to previous boards on that purchase, I have a folder here that anybody could look at the PowerPoint presentations and all the things. And in the letter that I gave Mr. Genovese, it outlines the highlighted points of why we should go with the high bid, which is the Peterbilt. The mechanics reviewed this information currently to make sure that nothing adversely changed with the information. One of the things that they're in agreement with, and I'm in agreement with, is standardization of the fleet. We've historically bought a lot of different manufactured trucks. Some of them are no longer in business. You can't get parts for the older trucks. This type of truck, you don't have to go to the specific dealer to buy components for it. Basically, the whole drivetrain is serviced, through outside vendors. The highlights.
Tony gave us that letter, so.
Yeah, well, a lot of that is in there, but basically through the agreement of the mechanics and myself, we're in concurrence that we should go with the same type of truck for a multitude of reasons, and that's it in short.
Thank you. Any questions for Warren? Is there a motion to award the bid to Truck Center Inc. at $88,906? It's bid number 2014-07.
So moved.
Second? Is there a second? Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you, Warren.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to take one other item before we go to public comment, and that would be item number 6, Economic Development Commission website. start talking. Oh, okay. All right, so it's going to take a few minutes to get this set up. So do you want to introduce yourselves and talk about why you're here? Okay.
Thank you. I'm Mika Cardozo. I'm a member of the Economic Development Commission, and I've been a member of the website subcommittee for a while now, and just recently assumed responsibilities as chair of that subcommittee from Barry Wolf. Basically, what we're here today to do is we've been working for a while on developing a website for the Economic Development Commission, specifically with the intent of, first of all, promoting our existing businesses within town, and also having a place where there is information for those people who might be interested in either moving a business into town, or possibly expanding from their home business within town and providing information or a place where they can go and find that information. So we've been working on it for a while. The subcommittee with Ellen Eisenberg, Jamie Scott, myself, with the help of Sheila McCrevin, Barry Wolf, and Jody Alant. We've been working on it for a while. We're at a point now where we feel we're ready to roll this out in the January timeframe. We'd like to do so at one of our outreach breakfasts that we have for businesses periodically through the year. And prior to doing so, we wanted to come here, show it to you, get any input, and just review the website overall with you. And also, it gives us an opportunity to thank you for your assistance and support, particularly in recent months in getting this to the point we're at now. So that's an overview of what we're doing. What we'd like to do is specifically have Jamie run through the website and show you exactly how what's on it right now and how it's set up currently. Take any questions or any input that you might have, and then we can move forward from there. Any questions, first of all? So
logistically, the question is, do I have to have Sheila drive, or can I stand over there and drive? Okay. So again, thank you very much. Thank you very much to the Board of Selectmen for their support, as well as Tony and our liaison to EDC, Ellen, who's been coming to some of our meetings, Sheila, who's been helping us for our web design. Basically, the perspective I'm taking is that I've had a business here in town for 23 years. And in preparation for this yesterday, I thought to myself, what businesses do I visit regularly? I mean, I've been on this task force for a while, working on this, and so I just jotted down a couple. I came up with 40 businesses in about 3 minutes that I regularly visit here as a business owner and as a resident of this community. So the concept here is shop Woodbridge, dine Woodbridge, try Woodbridge. There's a lot of businesses here within our community. There are over 500 businesses here, many of them to serve the needs of our community. Obviously, some of them are B2B, or some of them have a very small customer base. But in this case, we're building a website and a presence for our Economic Development Commission that really focuses on current businesses, prospective businesses, professional site selectors, town residents, as well as residents from surrounding communities. To the point of surrounding communities, I was at the bike shop this afternoon talking to them about EDC. They said they have a regular customer that comes down from West Hartford almost on a weekly basis to shop here in this community. So we think about the businesses here. The Red Barn regularly has customers from outside of Woodbridge that come to our community to shop. So it's not just for the residents within our community, but also residents from outside of our community. The goal again is to shop Woodbridge, dine Woodbridge, and to try Woodbridge. So the description that we see here focuses on the 500 businesses, focuses on keeping it local, focuses on why Woodbridge. Why Woodbridge is explaining our community to site selectors. A few of us from the EDC had an opportunity to attend a REX meeting, which covers our regional economic development group here for the Greater New Haven region. They put on a great session for town EDC committee members and commission members. And so we talked a lot about site selectors. So we wanted to make sure that our website was also designed for site selectors. What I have in mind is somebody like the Grimaldis that's coming in from Brooklyn. Clearly a larger firm. They had somebody looking at our community. That would be an example of a site selector. Why do they want to be here? So why Woodbridge? We talk about why Woodbridge. We talk about all the great benefits of being in this community. I'm also a product of that. Working in this town for 23 years, I'm a resident of the last 2 years. Part of it is because I have a young family. The education system, we heard from Dr. Stella, obviously we know we have a top-rated school system here. Basically there are things that we can brag about within our community. The transportation arteries are very important for businesses here. So with 69, 63, with the Parkway, all within our community. And then we have other things such as Mazzaro Farm, the JCC, hiking trails. And then we go on to talk about, well, where is Woodbridge? We looked at a lot of other EDC sites. We want to show people where we are. Obviously, we know where we are, but if you're a site selector, you want to know within the state where we are. So that's what the concept of the map is. The images that you see there were selected to show a couple different things. One, that we have, something like the Red Barn is a landmark within our community. Let's see, just...
Don't send it.
Don't send it.
Send it.
Okay. So we want to show things such as retail. We want to show known landmarks. We want to show the assisted living centers. We have 3 assisted living center and rehab facilities, so that's an image of one of them. We want to show more retail. Then what we want to do is also be able to provide links. If somebody's coming to our community and wanting to, one, expand, and they're a home business, we learned at this meeting that we went that a lot of home businesses want to expand, we want them to stay here within Woodbridge. We want them to take their home business and move to our community and take that retail space over in 63, where you see the sign, if you're going down 63 in the morning, it says, if your office was here, you'd already be at work. Well, that's what we want. We want people to stay here. So that's what the link is for commercial real estate opportunities. We also want demographics, so we have links to demographics from CERC, statewide data there. We have the link to the village plan, which the BOS here supported, the Village of Woodbridge Development Concept Plan. And then we have additional state resources. So that's just a quick overview there. We have rotating images up there at the top showing our community. We have different descriptions there. We're going to continue to build upon our photographic database here to continue to show our community. I want to make sure we can promote the great things happening in this town through economic development news. So the Burnt Bakery, which had opened just a couple weeks ago, where we were invited to attend. We have the press release up there. We have the state providing, again, more resources. So it's sort of hard, I have a customer base, I build a website to serve my customers. Here we have about 4 different customers, so we do have a large customer base that we're trying to cover here in our concept. The other link is here to the brewery expanding, again, showing images. Again, another destination. People come to Crest as a destination. They come to the brewery as a destination. They come to our restaurants and dining as destinations within our community, but people who are looking to expand, we want them to know that there are opportunities to grow and expand within our community. So we also want to promote all of our businesses. So we have our business listings here. We're focusing on 2 different ways to do this. So this is an example of our 30 featured businesses, but then we also are working on another link here where we show 300 of the 500 businesses. The difference are these are ones that are actually categorized to the town database. There are a bunch that do not have categories, so we're still working on how we're going to incorporate them, and basically that's who provide feedback. If there's a business that's here that's not listed, that wants to be listed, they can provide feedback. We can make sure that they are listed to this. And all of this and this meeting this evening is in preparation to our actual launch, which we'll be doing in the 3rd week or 4th week of January. We'll be launching this to the actual business community through one of our semi-annual breakfasts. We have a link about EDC, which most towns have this. We've looked at a lot of other towns. If you look at our surrounding communities, unless they have a professional EDC staff or a separate corporation, they really don't have as detailed sites as this. Again, provide feedback is so people can either update a listing, provide a new listing, or then quite frankly, they might not want to be there, so we want to give them those opportunities. We're building an events calendar. We have a lot of great events in our community that are related to the businesses, a lot of sponsorship opportunities for our business community. And that's what we see here. Willows, one of the assisted living facilities, had a car show a couple years ago. They said they want to do it again in April. We have the summer concert programs where we have business sponsorship opportunities. So we want to be able to highlight those different events throughout the year. So this calendar is certainly going to grow as we launch the site, as we find out about new things. The Mazzaro Annual Farm Dinner, they had sponsorship opportunities. The Scarecrow event, we had our first annual Scarecrow event this year, which we, through EDC, helped promote, and we hope that that will grow throughout our community. The 33rd annual 5K or 34th next year. Again, business sponsorship opportunities. We also have profiles on the view map of about 30 businesses. These are businesses that EDC members have gone out to and actually talked about. We wanted to highlight. And again, what this is linking to is Google, and this shows an overview of let's see. Is this a yes or a no?
Yes.
Thank you. So these are highlighting 30 businesses, and what we wanted to do is get permission from these businesses to be added to this. So we featured our dining options, a few of the activities, a few of the shopping options, and again, this will continue to grow as well. And it shows the businesses here through using Google Maps where they're located. So if somebody wants to quickly find the food and dining options, they can click on View Map, find our food, click on Map and find our food and dining options. Excuse me, as well as shopping options here. The other thing that we are going to do in terms of economic news is, upon building this, I've been going around and others of us have been going around and finding out that there are businesses that are expanding. We talked about Burnt Bakery, the New England Brewery, but also we have the new Woodbridge Social that will be coming to town, so that'll be something that will be added to the economic development news. We have the Grimaldi's Pizza. I went over to the hardware store. I've been frequenting that hardware store for 23 years. Well, I found out that they've been approved to expand. So that's another growth opportunity here that we will be promoting on behalf of the EDC. Please consider keeping it local. There are many times I don't even leave this community. I find out a lot of people live here, work here, own businesses here within our community, and really we have about 80-90% of the needs can be met right here within our community. So that's another big aspect of this, is keeping it local. There are days on end where I don't even have to leave town because everything I need can be sourced right here within our community.
Now, the website is one of a multi-pronged approach that we're trying to take. In addition to the website, we also have an ambassador program that Paul Rossi is heading as a subcommittee, with the intent of having the EDC members going out to the business community face to face, talking to them about what we're doing, getting their buy-in, if you will, in terms of what we're trying to do, and hopefully getting together so as to provide more cohesive business community that will look to do things on their own. We're going to need a lot of input from the businesses in town, whether it's a matter of pictures, what they're doing, the news, expansions, things of that nature. So in addition to the website, we've also got other elements of what we're doing that'll combine and make this stronger and make sure that it stays fresh and there's things in there and information in there that people will want to continue to see.
And with Tony's help, we'll be submitting a budget to EDC for the first
Right.
time, so we'll be able to keep the website updated in the future. We'll be using things such as Google Analytics to find out where people are going on the website, to find out where we can add value to the folks that are there. There's a lot of keywords embedded in here, so hopefully this will be picked up by the search engines in the future as well.
How will you drive remote traffic to this website?
We've talked about a couple different things. Obviously, press, using our different resources here within the community. We'll be doing a mailing to the business community. Once the business community hears about this, we know people will be promoting it through their own methods. Very limited budget. We have only certain things we could do, but certainly there's a lot of free press opportunities, using the Amity Observer, using the Woodbridge Town Bulletin, using the Woodbridge Bethany Forum Facebook page. There's 189 people on that one forum there. There's a lot of easy ways to get the news out there. People that have their own Facebook pages through their businesses can promote this. So I see this being promoted in many different ways. We've talked about even taking advantage of the concerts in the green and taking a table out to EDC, where we as EDC members could sit there in the green and hand out postcards and talk about this. So a lot of different things, a lot of grassroots promotion, again, on a shoestring on a budget on a shoestring type thing. We're trying to be creative in how we're going to promote this.
And is this completely divorced from the town's website?
This is linked directly with the town's website. This is hosted through QSend, which hosts the town website. So there are certain limitations. So the framework that you see there is the QSend framework. Most of the communities that use QSend, they all sort of look the same. So we only have certain editorial control through the support of the BOS. We've been able to update it to this point. We're able to change text. We're able to add to the listings. We're able to change those images up above. But there are certain things that we don't have control over. But right now, it's on the back end of the town site, so there's no additional fees there. But one thing that we do want to do, hopefully, is through our budget, is request a unique domain, which would be Shop Woodbridge or Shop Woodbridge CT, so people can go there, use a redirect. So we're using that as the actual domain that we would be promoting, rather than woodbridgect.org/business. We could have Shop Woodbridge CT, and that would be redirected to the town site, which again, this is hosted on the back end. Hopefully, with your blessing, this will be put on the homepage of the town website as well. So when people go to the homepage of the town website, they'll be redirected to this link. We could link it to the EDC site. There's a lot of opportunities to promote this out there. Rex will promote it for us, which is our Regional Economic Development Commission.
And Jameson, going back to Rex, I also attended with Jameson and Jody and Mika the program they had over in what was it, Amarantes? And one of the things that I think we all found amazing was that the collaboration and the willingness to help each other and what they already had available, that they do direct some of the requests they're getting from even outside the country or outside the county, and they'll direct them to towns, knowing, so they'll take your link and they use it in an international basis to direct people who are looking for a certain type of business or a certain type of community. And they help to bring outsiders into your community that are looking to develop in a certain way. And there was a lot of discussion about that. We were all kind of surprised at the amount of work they've already put into that kind of work with other towns, and we haven't really been part of it yet. But it's a free program that they help to direct traffic to you from outside to find things such as Grimaldi's or a national company or...
Any other questions?
I'm probably going to sound a little IT challenged right now, technologically challenged right now, but because it's linked directly to the town website, who in the town is paying attention to this in the sense of the content that's actually on the website? I'm looking at you. Did you notice that? I could be looking at you.
Well, right now, we're, I mean, the EDC, with the town's blessing, we're the ones who've been focused on that, but Ellen's been part of our subcommittee task force
No,
meetings.
I'm aware of that.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
talking about on an ongoing basis.
Oversight.
Right now.
Because I think that, the content on your website has to, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but someone has to conform to
Well,
sort
we
of
have a task
message
force
that,
through
we're all...
EDC, and that's our responsibility, I believe, is to make sure that we have the current information, or Mika is leading that task force through EDC. So that's what we want to make sure, is we don't have outdated information, we don't have old information, and we really, I think we've taken it on under the commission to say we need to make
Administratively,
sure
there's
that
certain
it's...
things that we're able to do and certain things that we can't.
So-
Karen is the...
Yeah, so
Well, okay,
that's
wait,
the,
I'm having stereo answers here. Who should I be listening to?
Tony?
that's the answer is that we have a webmaster, and it's Karen, and so all of the postings to our website go through her. So it's all done in draft form, and then she actually posts it to the website. She double checks links to make sure they work. She'll make sure that the content's appropriate, make sure it's in keeping with our policies and procedures here on
That's what I'm
staff.
concerned about.
And
that
also
it's
making sure
conforming
that
to all
there's
of those things.
continuity
Right,
on this operation, because it's a staff person. It's just, so there's some
right.
continuity. So that would be the way this would be
As
set
with all
up.
commissions.
Oh, they're all the
Right.
same way, yeah.
Okay.
And in addition to the regular meetings we have as an EDC, the web committee, subcommittee will stay in force, stay intact, and be working on almost a monthly basis as well to specifically manage that input, and depending on how much volume comes in. But that as Jamie
It's a
said.
great point. It's a very valid point, and something that we're making sure that we're going to stay on top of, because that's the worst thing we can do. I don't believe if you build it, they'll come. This isn't Field of Dreams. We have to promote it. We have to keep it updated. We have to take this and making it a living document and make sure that it's always fresh and
Well, and it
current.
has to be tone and town appropriate.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
It has to be inconsistent with our community. And
Right,
that's-
right.
For as long as it's on the town, that it is associated with
Right,
with the town,
right.
totally agree with you.
Okay, I have one other question. A lot of our businesses are tenants of larger real estate complexes. Are the real estate complex, is the ownership of the real estate complex being listed as a separate business? and the tenants are also listed as businesses?
That was a challenge in terms of taking the list. The list is really over 700 different types of businesses. Some of them are property owners, some of them are tenants. We're looking to capture all of them because it helps in every way. And that's what became challenging with the list, with the number that we use here. Our next phase list is about 300 businesses, as Jamie said. That's the list that he put up there.
Retail kind of
Exactly.
walk-in
Some
business?
home businesses, there's different, but we could categorize, we can identify them as true businesses here in Woodbridge, for all intent and purpose, tax-paying businesses here in Woodbridge. The next phase, we'll start looking at the next volume of businesses to determine exactly how they fit. But in terms of information, when we're going out to the business to look for information, we're sending reference out to both. We want the property owners, we want the individual business owners as well.
And Mika, with regard to the home businesses,
Mhm.
I haven't looked at this in a long time, but what's the status of home businesses and variances and all that kind of stuff to be able to use a business in a home?
They have to get permits, right, from plan and zoning?
Yeah,
Which-
so you can just warn everybody before
Right.
they go
Keeping in
up
mind-
there.
Once they're up
there,
We don't want to entrap anybody.
Right.
Right, exactly. But
Everyone
anything
will know.
we're getting from the assessor's office.
Okay.
We're
All
only
right,
using
fair enough.
what information we are getting from them.
Okay.
If somebody were to send us a request that they want to be added to the list,
Yeah,
obviously we verify before we add them. That's
Gotcha.
one of
Okay.
one of
Thank
our
you.
editing
thank you.
processes.
Okay.
Anything else? Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Back in your input whenever. So thank you
great.
very much.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll take care of it.
Well, we're clearly running a little bit late. I will do item number 7, which should be very quick, and ask for authorization to sign the contract for oversight of the Merritt Avenue Bridge. This is a standard state contract. We can't amend it in any way. Jerry, do you want to add anything about
Yeah,
it?
we've seen this before, and this is the standard state contract, and I looked at it, and I would ask that you guys give Ellen the authorization to sign.
I move we authorize the first selectman to sign the contract for the Merritt Avenue Bridge reconstruction.
Second.
Any discussion?
They're already out there.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
better
signs
start
up,
supervising. All the, yeah, oh, sure.
Just a quick question.
Yep.
Going back to when we authorized that there was the talk of as long as they were going to start as long as they thought they can get done with the vibrational impact by spring, so there wouldn't be a shutdown for the fish. So I just wondering, was that in the end decided that they would be able to get to that,
Yes.
so they wouldn't have to shut it down for 2
Yes,
winters?
they're currently working for the winter shutdown. At least they were as of a couple days ago before this recent
Right.
turn of
Great.
events.
So hopefully it'll be a one winter
Yeah,
shutdown.
and there's the anticipated closure of the bridge is at this point was it the 30th, Jerry?
The
Do you remember?
30th, and letters will be going out
So we'll send
to all
letters out to
residents,
all
and
residents
notices
about
in the
that, but
paper.
it's anticipated that the 30th the bridge will be closed, so we can start that work that we were discussing.
Great.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We'll now go to public comments. Yes.
I'm Edie Lockyer, Walton Road. I volunteer at the senior center every Tuesday to help set up and whatever has to be done. A couple of weeks ago, there was a fire alarm. And when there's a fire alarm, you leave the building. So we left the building at the boys' entrance, which is near the library. There was no seniors there yet. We were just preparing. And the daycare center also had to leave the building. And I was really quite upset with the way it went. They had to come from the old first grade to the hall, down the flight of stairs, and outside. They brought out first the children that were able to walk. There was quite a few of them. They were young, very young. They had no coats, of course, nothing. They took them out and took them on the sidewalk toward the street, and they stood there. Then they proceeded to bring cribs out of the classroom to the top landing, and they parked one at the top there was 2 children in it who couldn't walk. They were quite young. And I was there, so I'm holding the door, and it was cold. Then they carried the empty cribs. They brought up an empty crib. 2 of the ladies carried the empty cribs down the stairs, parked it at the bottom landing. And I really am not sure how they got the children in there, but they must have carried them also. I think they brought out 4, maybe 5, maybe even 6 cribs. They wheeled them out into the area, the road there, sidewalk, whatever. I don't think they had any plan what they were going to do with those children once they got them outside. They eventually took them into the library. And I feel that you people need to be aware of that. I think it's very unsafe. I worked at the nursery school. I was the director over there quite a few years. And we had to know what we were going to do. We were on the first level. That makes it a little different. But I think it's a serious thing that was to my way not of doing it. It really wasn't handled very well. And I think somebody should look into it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I have another question. When am I going to be able to sit in my living room and hear all of the different boards on my television?
Are you a UVerse subscriber?
No, I'm on. I have the program. I can't hear you people, and I'm not deaf. And I've been complaining about this for years. And I've been told, oh, we're going to do it. We're going to take care of it.
Would you speak into the microphone?
No, I don't have to.
I know that
And
you
I
have
make
said
a
things in the
point
past
of
about it,
not
absolutely.
having
I'm
to.
teasing you.
Because I've been to your meetings, and you were talking before.
Sounds like
And
you've
I
been
don't
watching.
know if it's private or what, but to me it's a public meeting.
It sounds like you've been watching in my den because I have the same issue.
You do?
What's interesting is that's on the channel 79. That is very difficult to hear most meetings, if not at all, be able to hear it. But if you go to the library to get the DVD copy, the recordings seem to be great. So it's somehow it's not necessarily the voice is coming through the microphones, but the way it's getting out onto the TV station, because when you get the DVD, you hear it fine.
So I think it is something, you're not the first person to have
Oh,
commented
I
about
know
it.
I'm not.
And we will look into it.
Because I've been complaining for years and nobody seems to pay any attention. You know, it'd be nice if somebody did.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Yes, please.
My name is Ernie Asprelli. I live on White Oak Lane, but I'm here on behalf of my father, who lives on Crestview Drive. And I apologize for attending the meeting a little bit late. I was delayed. But I wanted to make a point in support of Mr. Gehring's request to the board, and also refresh this board's memory of an event that occurred about a year ago. And there were some of the people who are here tonight were at that meeting, but most of you were not. On September 27th, 2012, former First Selectman Sheehy convened a meeting to discuss the matter with regard to the drainage into the Crestview Pond. And at that time, the resolution of the meeting was that Town Engineer Chris Scolo was going to develop a maintenance plan, which I believe you asked about, Attorney Dye, and present that to both the Crestview Lake Association and the town so that we could consider it and proceed with whatever was appropriate according to his maintenance plan and recommendations. I have not seen the report. Mr. Gehring has not seen the report. Mr. Connors did not make mention of the report this evening. So I'm wondering if it was ever prepared or if anyone has it. We would like to see that before, and I think it would benefit this board.
I'll definitely look into it. I know there was the map that we have and that we've made public. And if there is a report, we'll make that available.
Yeah, I know there's a map.
We'll check. If there is a report, we'll definitely make it available. Maybe Jerry knows.
If there isn't a report, then we'd like to get one from him. He was tasked with preparing it at that time.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Okay, then we'll go to item number 8, Town Council's report.
Yes, I'm going to report just very briefly on the Fire Commission appeal, which you all know involves the patio at the firehouse, and this matter has been pending in the Superior Court. There was a pretrial about 2 weeks ago where Chairman of the Inland Wetlands Commission attended, Ellen attended, and the Fire Marshal attended, and the Chairman of the Fire Commission also attended, and I was in attendance. And the lawyers for both sides. And we had a meeting with a judge who was trying to see if there was any ability to settle a case. He concluded, and I think the parties agreed at that point, that there was no meeting of the minds, and the judge ordered the parties to take part in a court-ordered non-binding mediation session, which is scheduled for January 17th. At the Milford Superior Court. All the parties were asked to attend. Certain members of the Inland Wetlands Commission, I'm sure, will be there, as well as members from the Fire Commission, the lawyers, the first selectman, and hopefully the mediator, who is a Superior Court judge, will be able to talk to the parties separately, together, and arrive at some consensus. So it's an opportunity for us to give it a chance, and hopefully we'll have some progress for you in the January meeting. February meeting.
Has the mediator been identified yet, or just?
The mediator, I think, is Judge Hiller. He has been identified. And he's a resident judge in the Milford Courthouse.
Any other questions? Anything else, Jerry?
No, that's all I have.
Thank you. Thank you. Tony? Finance reports.
Thank you. Try to speak into that.
Yeah, loud.
They have your report through November of 2013, and the results are a budgetary shortfall of about $38,000, and so that leaves our fund balance at about $4.2 million, or 9.24% of our budget. A couple highlights for you: the intergovernmental revenues are projected to experience $143,000 surplus. This is mainly due to a town road aid additional funds there of $120,000 and $41,000 from revenue sharing that we did not budget for. That was an additional amount. So that's the lion's share of that money. Department revenues are projected to experience a shortfall of $266,000. There are certain line items that are projected to are trending ahead of budget, and there's a surplus projected, namely in conveyance fees, town clerk fees, and zoning permits. Those are all trending ahead of budget so far this year, and are therefore projected to generate a surplus. In contrast, there is a projected shortfall of $312,000 in operations of revenue for the Country Club of Woodbridge. So if you combine the surpluses with the shortfall in golf revenues, you arrive at the $266,000 projected shortfall. Interest rates this year are running lower than we had thought they would be at this time, and we have a slight shortfall of about $20,000 in our interest income account. And employee benefits, largely due to lower than anticipated health insurance rates, are larger than budgeted, and changes in coverage by employees, and some gaps in coverage where if we have a vacant position and we don't have filling that position as of yet, there is no health care expense, so that's also creates a surplus. The town is projected to experience about $75,000 surplus in health care. There was a deficit in workers' compensation we had discussed last time. There's a transfer to address that later in the package.
Any questions for Tony?
Okay. Typically, Tony, you find the rule of thumb for the fund balance compared to the budget, 9-10, to try to stay above 9-10%.
Yeah,
Is that typically the rule of thumb?
Yeah, our policy or our objective is to try to be about 10%. Depends on your perspective, but
so we're teetering. We're right about the number, a little lower maybe than we want to be, but we're
pretty
around
close. Yeah.
the number.
And that's a number that you manage in the budget process.
Mm-hmm.
So to the extent that there's a contribution from fund balance in our revenue section in the budget, So that's how you manage that number going forward. If you want to increase your percentage, lower that number. If you want to decrease it, you make it higher. That's how you manage your fund balance.
Joe, did you have a question?
Good question.
Yeah, I forgot what it was. Sorry. Couldn't have been that important. No, I guess we'll get to it, but the workers' comp,
Yes,
those are audited policies, right?
Correct.
So typically, and the premium's based on the salaries.
correct.
So
So
do
we
have
submit a salary
increase in
estimate.
salary?
That's right. So we have to project that.
Yeah.
That we do a salary projection when we get the policy, and then they'll go through the policy year. And at the end of the policy year, we get audited, and they'll compare. So if there's more overtime, there's more. Sometimes we get a credit. Sometimes we have to pay a little.
Right. So this was a 75. We're paying 75,000.
That's the healthcare surplus. The deficit
Is $38,000 in comp, and that's actually due to mostly the fact that there's really only 2 carriers in municipal workers' comp. There's not a lot of competition, and there's not a lot of insurance, at least that we've experienced
But
when
the
we bid.
differential wouldn't be a rate differential within the policy period. It's just an increase in
it's
salaries
because
and so forth.
it's because we didn't.
We budgeted X, which we thought the increase would be, and when we went out to bid, it was Y.
Right.
And a lot of that's because of competition. There's not very much. Not a lot of people, insurance companies are willing to insure workers' compensation for municipalities,
Right.
unfortunately.
One other quick question on the golf course, the 312.
Right.
I
That's
thought it was
it was
308, went to 308.
It did.
There was a repair to something. It was a building repair that
And-
increased it.
That's an operational shortfall.
Correct.
Is that the dollar for dollar on the budget too? In other words, did we budget?
We budgeted
Zero or
zero.
we-
Correct.
We did, so.
Yeah. Even though they had presented
A budget with a surplus of 92,000.
But you did zero.
We did zero, yeah.
Good man. Okay.
Anything else? Okay, tax refunds?
Yes. There are total refunds of $7,075.18, which are all motor vehicle refunds.
Is there a motion to approve the refund of $7,075.18? Thank you. A second?
Second.
Any discussion or questions? All those in favor? Aye. Thank you. Funding requests.
The funding request that we have is for workers' compensation, so you can see that the $38,000 is taken from healthcare. So that's sort of the where we had the surplus. So
Is there a motion to approve line item transfer number 2014-11 in the amount of $38,000?
So moved.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Okay, animal control, Tony?
okay, we have your animal control for November 2013. We had 85 calls, 26 where there was actually a response to a call. 26 in Bethany, 31 in Woodbridge, 31 in Derby, 20 in Woodbridge. There were 3 dogs from Woodbridge picked up and redeemed to their owners. There were 8 dogs that were adopted during the month, and 4 cats. There are currently 4 cats and 6 dogs at the shelter and 1 rabbit. 172 people visited the shelter. We have a new sign at the facility. If any of you have seen it, and now it doesn't say District Animal Control because it is not District Animal Control. So we thought that was important.
What does it say?
It's Woodbridge Animal Control.
Oh, okay.
251 phone calls were fielded, and we had repairs to some vehicles, and we actually cleaned up the grounds, removed some damaged fence, just some minor repairs that really made a difference in the appearance of the facility.
So I thought we were going to change it, so instead of it saying responded to 85
We were.
complaints,
We were.
it would be 85 calls.
That's why I said calls as opposed to.
Thank you. I think
I
that's.
noticed that. I was noticed.
Yeah, all right, thank you. All right.
Try that for next month.
Any questions for Tony? Okay.
Anything down there in terms of capital needs? funding other than, I guess, the roof still?
Yeah, the roof is the big item. You'll see in the budget process, for operating budget, there needs to be some other minor requests,
Otherwise, we're in pretty good.
but those were the immediate needs.
Are we still using the service of the woman from Seymour Animal
Yes.
Control?
Yes, we are.
And that's still going well and hour-wise?
Yeah.
There's been no issues that have been brought to our attention.
Anything else?
No.
Okay, next is report of the Personnel Committee regarding the vacant position in the Building Department.
Okay. I have a resume here I'd like to hand in.
Thank you.
Okay. I think I have enough. There should be enough for this selecting.
Just gonna sit and share with you.
So we have a vacant position in the building department, which has been vacant for some time. We had received over 100 applications, maybe closer to 120 or 130 applications, somewhere around there. And we had an interview panel of the three of us in the town, and we interviewed several people. I think close to 14 interviews. We interviewed a lot of individuals who were very qualified for the position, and our unanimous recommendation for this position is Catherine Tratsky. She is currently a secretary at a construction company, so she has a construction background, which is important in that department. She's also a dispatcher currently in Orange, and has a lot of public relations. She's good at speaking with the public, and that was another one of our objectives, was somebody who would be able to work well with the public. And she's actually also a former employee at our police department, and received a very high recommendation there. And so that's our recommendation.
Any questions? Okay, is there a motion to approve the hiring of Catherine
Tratsky.
Tratsky, the Building Department? Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you, Tony.
Thank you. This has her, yeah, I'd like to collect these because it just has some
Yep.
of her information on there.
Just gonna collect those back. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I'll hand it to
The next item is appointments to the Board of Ethics. When we all met in June, which was before we were sworn in to this new town, to this new term, we had talked about keeping open some of the positions on the board for members of the clergy, and there were two significant openings, vacant positions of clergy members. One of those has recently been filled, the other has not. But at this time, there is a matter that's been brought to the Ethics Commission, and it involves one of the members. So we will not have a quorum on that commission unless we act now to fill the position. So we thought it was important to go ahead, and I will entertain a motion to fill the position on the Board of Ethics that is to expire on June 30th, 2015.
I'd like to nominate Al Smith, Alfred E. Smith, Jr. We have his resume in our packet. He's an attorney at Mertha Cullinan, former managing partner and now a regulatory chair. He's a former member of Town Planning and Zoning, been in town a very long time. Served at one time as chair of the Charter Revision Commission, and I think he'll do a very good job.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on that nomination? Seeing none, are there any other nominations for the position that expires on June 30, 2015?
We'd like to nominate Stephen Mosbach, who I believe his name was offered once before at the nominating committee meeting. I believe that everybody received his resume. He's, we think, quite qualified as well. So we'd just like to put forward his name.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Sure.
Any discussion or questions? Okay, we will vote on the nomination of Al Smith first. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions?
One abstention.
We're gonna be two.
The next one, we have two positions. I'm sorry,
No, I abstain.
everybody voted,
We abstain only because,
Well, I abstain.
I'll tell you why I abstained. I just want to reconfirm something we discussed at that meeting. Based on this process, I just don't feel that I'm knowledgeable enough and have enough information, though I have his resume, that there hasn't been a discussion, and I guess the process precludes a discussion, so I don't feel qualified to say yes or no to who may be a very qualified candidate, so that's why I'm abstaining.
thank you. Now, we have a second position, and that is on the Board of Ethics for the position that expires on June 30, 2017. Is there a nominee for that position?
I have a nominee. I'd like to nominate Claire Elise Coleman. We also have her resume in our packet. She's a litigation associate, has extensive law experience, a member of the Connecticut Bar and the New Haven County Bar, and she happens to be the daughter of David and Diane King.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Any other nominations? Okay, seeing none, we'll vote on Claire Coleman. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions?
Abstention.
Thank you. The next item is the town clerk's report. Is there a motion to acknowledge receipt of the town clerk's report? Second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. The next item is approval of minutes. First of the minutes of the September 11th, 2013 Board of Selectmen meeting. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion, corrections, questions?
One quick question.
Yes.
On page 1 of 9, second paragraph under Beecher Road School Building Project, the last sentence in the second paragraph, an RFQ was let to find a company for the work it was sent, maybe, or
I think you could.
could you let it?
Well,
I
you
think
did,
so.
You let it in and you let
Yeah.
it.
Okay.
That was fine.
Then I'm okay. Then I have no changes.
Anything else?
Sorry.
Okay, all those in favor of approval of the minutes?
Aye.
And secondly, we have the minutes of the meeting of October 9th, 2013. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. The next item on the agenda is approval of meeting dates for 2014. And as you can see, rather than regularly scheduling 2 meetings a month, this has 1 meeting a month. In talking with Jerry Shaw, we thought this was a very good idea, so rather than put the second meeting on the calendar and cancel it, which we so often do, we'll have the 1 regular meeting, and if need be, it's likely to be a special meeting in any event. So, is there a motion to approve the meeting schedule for 2014?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
One thing, January
Yes.
9th is a Friday.
Oh, I forgot.
We talked about it.
Yes.
I called you up.
2015.
So
The
it'll have
two-
to be January 14th, I think, in 2015. Who can think that far ahead? I checked those things. That's what I did.
It's January 14th, 2015.
It's the second Wednesday in 2015.
Yeah, you know, I was probably, I don't know.
Not that I don't want to spend Friday evening with you guys,
I have
but,
a
you know.
calendar to this.
I think
So-
George Gearing was probably wearing your glasses at the time, and you know, you didn't get it right.
So we will deem this to be an amended, a motion to amend this list. I'm sorry,
Okey-dokey.
to approve the list as amended for
Okay.
January 14th. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. First Selectmen's report. A few things I wanted to mention. I attended the Interfaith Thanksgiving service. Some of others here did. Susan sang at the service. And it was a beautiful choral event and a wonderful coming together of the community, as it is every year. So that was a lovely town event. Beth and I represented the Board of Selectmen and the town at a dinner of recognition for the Woodbridge Volunteer Fire Department. Other members of the board could not be there, but I want to assure you that we let them know how much everybody appreciated, particularly their efforts at the fire on Coachman's Lane. It was a an unusually large, and 3-alarm fire, which doesn't happen that often. And I will tell you that the firemen were extremely appreciative of our recognition of their efforts. So I want to thank everybody for being part of that and letting them know. I also attended the Darling House holiday reception. For any of you who haven't done that in the past, don't miss it next year. Mr. and Mrs. Darling are very warm and welcoming hosts. Some people know them as Don and Dana Menzies, but they were in full costume, and the house is beautiful. The Amity High School a cappella group sang too, and they were just fantastic. So it was a wonderful, wonderful town event. And finally, I do want to mention that Monday morning was the ice storm, and there were some difficulties in town, particularly at Beecher Road School. So we looked into what the process has been, and in the past, it's up to the police officer who is out on the road during the night to make the first call about what's going to happen in the morning. And it seems that it's so important that I thought we should have redundancy in this system, not just have one person be responsible. Clearly something happened this week and there was a problem. So going forward, the police department and the public works department will have responsibility to check the weather, to be sure they're on top of things. By Tuesday morning, things were working much better. We heard from Dr. Stella that the communication was good. And we've also made sure that all the relevant parties are on the state alert for weather, which they had not been.
Right.
So
We did.
Tony
Yep.
followed up on that. So I don't think there's perfection when it comes to weather or dealing with the weather events, but I think this is a good change and hopefully will work better in the future. That's the highlights for me. Joe, do you have anything?
We'll pass this evening.
Okay. Liaison reports. Lawrence?
The Woodbridge Board of Education met on November 18th, and a few highlights from that meeting. First, in a report from the PTO, an acknowledgement of the volunteer efforts of Beecher Road School parents who, as many of you know, as all of us know, raise money and supplement programming at Beecher Road School through their volunteer efforts. One of the big events each year is the Halloween Hoot, and in that one day, of course, there are weeks and months of preparation, I'm sure, but in that one day, $15,000 was raised to help the PTO supplement programming at Beecher Road School. Never curriculum, that's a sticking point, but other programming, special programming. Also at that meeting, the board unanimously approved a new contract with the collective bargaining unit representing the teaching assistants for a period actually retroactive to July 1st of this year, but through June 30th of 2016. I spoke with the business manager after the meeting to get a little more information, and it is consistent not only with the current budget, but also with work that is already underway for the FY15 budget. Anyway, everyone seemed comfortable with the negotiated terms, and it was approved unanimously, as I mentioned. And then I think just the last highlight I would report on, there was a presentation made by the World Language Department, the faculty members of the World Language Department, and what an impressive program they have there to give Beecher Road School students a head start in world language studies. There is an exit exam now after 6th grade, and what they did was they charted progress in this program over the years. In 2010, the program just included listening skills, but in 2011, they added speaking skills to the listening. In 2012, reading to go with the speaking and listening, and now they're adding writing as well. So it's a comprehensive introduction to world language provided at Beecher Road School. And then, night before last, the Amity Board of Education met. Its first order of business was to elect officers, and Bill Blake was re-elected to another term as chairman, and a member of the Woodbridge delegation, Jim Horowitz, was re-elected to be treasurer of that board, just so we know. The interim superintendent kicked off the budget process for that board, and described a little about some of the pressures on that budget going forward, and we'll hear more about that as the new year unfolds. There was some additional discussion of expanding the Amity School District to include Bethany 6th grade students. That's residual from last year. No imminent move on that front. The Amity Board of Education received from the state of Connecticut a $186,000 and change technology grant to help the district implement the core curriculum, the technology to allow for the core curriculum, I guess is the best way to describe it. And it's one of the larger grants awarded statewide, so they were quite pleased with that. And then just the last thing, to piggyback, Ellen, on your comments about the a cappella group at the Darling House, the Amity High School holiday concert featuring that group and the band and the jazz band and the full choir and the orchestra. I guess everybody gets to perform anyway for a short while, beginning tomorrow night, beginning at 7 o'clock in the John J. Brady Performing Arts Center. That's all.
Thank you. Susan?
I had town conflicts for both my boards, so I did not get to either one.
Nice quick report.
I can't beat that, but it's pretty quick. I couldn't attend the fire commission meeting. I had a family illness, and things are okay and better, so I didn't make that meeting. On December 2nd, I did attend the town plan and zoning meeting, and I can report that the commission approved the application for the Tia Russell Dance Studio at 17 Hazel Terrace. They also approved the application from Grimaldi's Pizza at 1646 Litchfield Turnpike. And they also continued the revision to the regulations regarding access to property in adjoining towns for property in Woodbridge. And their next meeting is January 8th. So pretty quick.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, not so quick.
Uh-oh.
I'll try. I had 3 commissions that all met. Economic Development Commission, which you heard basically presentation tonight, met on November 14th. Ellen and Jerry joined in, and Jerry gave a short FOI presentation about what we were going to hear and some of the issues that may be coming in front of the boards and commissions to keep an eye out for. The website progress you've heard, which has been tremendous. So in case anyone doesn't know here, a month ago, 2 months ago, that website was about where the blank screen was. It was almost nowhere. They were really working hard on it, but it wasn't coming together quite yet for them. It's really come a long way. It obviously has more to go, and it's going to be a work in progress forever, but they have really put an effort on getting the website and getting a rollout possible in January. They are holding a special meeting tomorrow night, which I'll be at, before the holiday party, to try to pass a budget request so that they can ask for some money for the website and a few other issues that they plan on spending and investing in, I'll call it. The new date, you might have heard about the JCC event. The new ambassador program, which is basically a program to get them out and introduce themselves to businesses and say, you know, here we are, how can we help? What is it that you need? And we'd like to get you involved in things such as the website. So they're going to try, there's a 3-member on the commission or subcommission, but they want to basically get out to as many businesses in Woodbridge as they possibly can and make some personal contact, which is something that's probably long overdue in this town. It's one of the things when we went to Rex, we heard that the one thing that every business who's unhappy says in any town is, I never met anybody from the town. I never heard from anybody. So they're working on that. which is a great thing. And they're also recommending a C-Space program. The presentation was given to them, and they want to send it to the Board of Selectmen. Conservation Commission met on November 21st. Cindy Anger spoke from the Land Trust, basically about the joint fall walk and the success they had. Later, the commission had their own report on the fall walk. It was a great success. It was a joint effort between conservation and the Land Trust, Woodbridge Land Trust. They had plenty of residents show, and it was a great day. So everybody was very happy about that. Jason, the chair, Morel, attended the CAC-IWC annual meeting and had a great report and learned what he felt was a great deal of knowledge from them, and is hoping that they were going to add that to their budget request so that maybe they can have a few members go next year, because he felt it was that important. They were given a positive report on a few updates, such as the HIP tag grant status. The commission hoped to have a budget prepared as well, so we haven't seen theirs as well. They're hoping to get that done this month. And there was a new state open space matching grant given by the DEEP, and it was reported on, and the commission felt unanimously that the Baldwin Road property was a prime candidate for such a grant, and the commission voted to send Jason to have a conversation with the incoming Derby mayor about a joint effort, because it's kind of grant that you basically can do with multiple towns. In this exact situation where you have a property that may abut or is actually part of two different towns or more. So Jason is going to contact the Derby incoming mayor and see if they can have some kind of collaborating effort on that grant. Last commission is Recreation Commission. December 2nd they met. Sandy Simowitz gave a request and received approval for the Learn to Swim program. If you're not familiar, is a program for the younger kids that actually during school hours they use the pool in a Learn to Swim program, and it's been going on for quite some time, but every year she comes in, asks a request, and she received approval for it again. The commission was given, and myself, a tour of the pool area and locker rooms. The bad news was we found quite a few, over 10 I'd say, small but important safety concerns that were maintenance in nature. The good news is John was able to immediately get in touch with Brad Parsons, and between the staff and Brad, they addressed each and every one of them and have, at least to their satisfaction, repaired all of the safety concern repairs. There were some caps missing from electrical units and that type of thing, and they got right on it, and from what I understand, they did a great job getting that taken care of. And then there was a few reports of fitness centers getting used more, basically by seniors. They were happy about that. The skating rink update, which we saw in a budget request, they're asking to repair and increase the size of the skating rink. And unfortunately this year it wasn't able to be done by the Parks Department. They thought there was going to be some repairs done. It hasn't been done, so they're asking the budget request that we repair and make larger by about 10 feet the ice skating rink over on the Fitzgerald track. And the last thing I report, which is good news, is the road race. They reported final report that it raised over $4,400 this year. It was a great participation, highest amount ever, and that from that number, the commission approved a $3,000 donation to the Woodbridge Food and Fuel Fund. Good. So, and that's it.
That's it?
That's it.
In order to balance off Tony, I was unable to make human services and library, so
I'm sensing a pattern.
I'm with you,
There
Susan.
you go, okay.
I just want to comment one thing that Tony mentioned. Jason called me about the Conservation Commission's discussion about reaching out to Derby, which I think is a wonderful idea, and we agreed that it would probably be more appropriate for the first selectman to contact the mayor rather than the commission. And we've talked about that. I have had a preliminary conversation with the mayor in Derby. It was before her swearing in, which was last week. I think she has a lot going on right now, but she was definitely receptive to talking about it. So that was terrific. While we're on liaisons, different issues have come up about the role of liaisons and what we should be doing. Susan has raised some specific ones. Do you want to mention those, Susan?
Well, there's actually been on my mind for a long time, predating this board. I mean, even, when I was on the other side of the table in other capacities as liaison. there seems to be kind of a lack of consistency on how this is approached, both from the commission and board point of view and from the point of view of the liaison. I just thought maybe we should all talk about it. I think executive session is one of the issues that we all seem to have slightly different ideas about. I'm not saying I know the answer, I just think we should be a little more consistent. And also, there seems to be kind of an advocacy piece to this that also is treated differently by both the expectation of advocacy and the performance of advocacy. So I'm sort of wondering what we think about all this.
Well, when you sent me the questions, and I've been talking to Jerry about them, just to sort of go over where does this come from that we have the liaisons. It seems like it's a good way to get information back to the board. Apparently we didn't always have liaisons, and one of the other methods has been that the chairs of the commissions come and report to us, which of course frees up some time for board members. It's something we could consider. I think generally the commissions welcome having someone there. But as Susan said, it's treated very differently. I know the issue has come up about executive session.
Right.
I think that the presentation we had on executive session helped clarify that. But I don't know, are there any other comments or questions before we ask Jerry?
Not on executive session, but as far as advocacy, I mean, and again, just in the discussion, I feel that I'm not an advocate, and I hope to let my commissions know that I feel I'm there to report, help them with some basic communication from the board perspective. If there's questions they have that maybe I can answer right there that are just, what's happening with something, or what can, where do you feel this is? But I do think it definitely has a positive role. However, I am very open to the idea of the chairman or the commissions coming in front of us on a rotating basis. Maybe it's 3 each month or whatever the number may be. I mean, I do think we can have the same relationship if we can develop a plan such as that.
So that's something we could consider. I know one of the issues is for the months coming up, we have so many budget meetings. Of course, we'll be hearing from them at the budget meetings, but it'll be about the budget. And maybe we can sort of adjust it depending on the time of year and try a different.
And I'm in no way suggesting that we not have liaisons. I mean, I agree with you. I think it is important to have that reach out piece to it, unless we all feel otherwise. But it just seems like we all treat it differently.
Well, it does appear that some commissions regularly invite the liaisons into executive session. And I think we all understand now that we shouldn't be going into executive session. And another point that Susan made to me is that we should be sure that the chairs of the commissions all know also. So we will do that.
I'm all for discussing liaisons, because if the point is to bring back information, it's a terribly inefficient way of doing it and using everyone's time.
Right.
So, if we want to get back to, what really is the point of them and start from there and then see where we go, I'm sure we all have some thoughts on that. But you can have a liaison that doesn't have to go to every meeting. They're just designated. And in the world of how we communicate today, it's very easy to communicate with a liaison if you need to. If you're the commission and you need to get in front of the board, just email your liaison or whatever. But we all have a lot to do, and for this board to feel they have to go to all these single meetings to come back here and put back information, there's better ways of doing it, I think, whether it's having them here or getting minutes or whatever. I mean, those are some of my initial thoughts, but I would offer one to have a session and take a look at it and see what the real purpose is and see if there isn't a better way
Right,
to do
and
it.
it may not be that it's for us to have information so much as it is for the boards and commissions to have information, which argues the other way. I'm just to play devil's advocate for a minute.
Depending upon
Yeah.
But I think there is a sense, if you're always at these meetings as a board of selectmen, and particularly those that you may be a liaison for many years, there becomes this sense that hey, you're almost part of that, or talking to the advocacy thing and so forth. I don't know. I think there's probably a better way that we could handle that whole situation.
Well, if we get nothing else out of this discussion, can we just be clear then, we do not go to their executive sessions for any reason. Right. Can we ask you or maybe Jerry to send a note to all the chairs of all the boards and commissions, so that we all get on the same page on that?
Absolutely. Yes.
Right?
I will take care of doing that.
Right.
Definitely.
That was clear
And-
from Mr. Hennick's
Yes.
discussion that you cannot,
Right,
you
but not
destroy the
everybody was at that
sanctity.
discussion.
Right.
You destroy-
No, but we will
destroy
let them know.
Right, perfect, okay.
And Joe, maybe people want to give some more thought to this, and we'll
Right.
make it an agenda item again and talk more about it. And I think in the meantime, people can experiment with different methods if you want to, unless you think we should have a uniform approach as we sort this
If you're
out.
gonna have liaisons, it should be more.
Uniform.
Uniform.
Okay, so we'll continue. I'm sorry,
I was
Susan.
just gonna say, maybe for the next month or so, we should talk to our commissions, to the ones that we are appointed to, and see what they think.
That's a good
I mean, maybe they have thoughts about it, like, what are you doing here? Right?
She won't be here anymore.
Or, please, we need, I mean, you know, to get, interesting to get their
Well,
feedback too,
I
I
think
think.
they probably do like us there for whatever
Yes.
those reasons
Oh,
are.
you
but-
can think that.
Well, I'm only on library and human services. It doesn't get that, but I mean the point, and maybe not. But that's something we should know then, because
Correct.
maybe there is a better way to.
But I do feel it very important that, and regardless of what we decide as liaison, I think one of the issues I've had with town, and it's not necessarily our town, it's many towns, but since I've been involved in coming to meetings and whatnot, I think it is very difficult to get a sense, and I know these boards and commissions really have such an important role to the direction of so many things.
Right.
And I do think it would behoove us to have them come in on a regular basis. And again, it could be a rotating where each chair comes in once every 3 months or 4 months, and therefore they're not all in one night. But I think they would get a better sense of how we feel as a group. So there's not that one person, maybe this person's an advocate, maybe they're not, maybe I don't say this. But so they can get their questions answered. But also sometimes they just, while reporting, I think there are questions, like, because when I'm there as liaison, I don't always like to ask I'm not sure my role, it should be to ask questions, but I have questions. But if they came here to report to us, we all can ask questions and say, you know what, that's an interesting program you're starting, but how about this? I don't know if I feel right about, and I should be doing that as a liaison there, but here I would feel comfortable with that. So.
Well, right, and I think that really is another way of saying that these boards and commissions, they do have certain power. Some of them are statutory,
Right.
and but to the overall extent, they're actually agents of us of this board in a sense, because they're at the other level managing certain certain tasks and things of the town, certain agencies. And even if we have liaisons and we come and say they did this and they did that, we don't really know what a lot of these boards are doing. And I think we should. I think we should.
So,
Good discussion.
yeah, we'll definitely
And
follow up
ongoing.
on this.
Good.
And, people can be thinking about what direction to go, talk to the chairs and commissions, and we'll revisit. Thank you. Okay, we are now returning to executive session. Is there a motion to move into executive session? Thank you. A second? Any discussion, questions? All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Our executive session, no votes were taken during the executive session. During that time, we discussed the report of the Personnel Committee regarding the administrative officer position in the town, and the personnel, do you want to, one of you want to talk about the report of the Personnel Committee, Lawrence or Tony?
It is the recommendation of the Personnel Committee to name a new administrative officer upon the retirement of the current administrative officer.
Who's that? Oh, Chuck.
Since it is a requirement of the town charter to have an administrative officer. And so, I would move that this board name the current Director of Administration and Finance, the new administrative officer effective January 16th, 2014.
And that person is Tony Jenkins.
And that person is Tony Genovese.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion or questions? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Thank you. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Great. Thank
Don't
you all
leave
very
until
much.
you guys
Thank
get a
you.
copy of this.